Good afternoon, roommate to vintagers. I told you sometimes I'm that relaxed. I can get more relaxed on be levitating. Well, that's the secret. I read one or two of these books. I'm frightening. Never read them after 12 o'clock, especially bang on 12 o'clock, because you'll turn into a frog. Croak. Yeah. So I've got one or two things to say, I suppose, today, like sort of thing regarding the big event coming up on Thursday. The Queen's 70th Jubilee. What is it, a platinum one? I think it's a platinum one. Unusual, never happened again. Well, not in my life. I'd be, God knows, I'd be 140. I suppose if somebody, no, that'd be just 70 years on top. But anyway, it'd be a bloody old bugger if I was to find another one. Prince Charles won't do it, will he? If he ever gets to on the throne, he won't. I don't think he'd ever make another. It would. Well, impossible to do 70. He would be over 140. That'd be a long time off. But anyway, as I said, platinum, and people are having lots of teas and things like that, and cucumber sandwiches with the crust cut off. And we was having a look around the shop, and I thought, you know what? I've got some really traditional teapots, and they are traditional. They're not your fancy floral things that a lot of people have. Because back in the day when Queen Elizabeth II, not Victoria, possibly Victoria, one or two of them, maybe, I don't think so. But they were the sort of thing they would have used at the time when she ascended to the throne. I mean, back in 1952, there weren't that much who could afford, that many people could afford floral sort of pots and teapots. So it would have been your little brown jug, and not some little, there's one over there, that big one. If you was to fill that on Thursday, you'd still have some left to drink on Sunday night. There's that many in it. There's that much to be done. But the other thing is, like sort of thing, what they're sat on. This is actually a wonderful silver-plated tray, serving tray. It's one of the biggest, heaviest trays I've ever had. It's had a bit of wear, but it ain't that old. I should imagine it was probably 1975, 1980. But some of the silver is rubbed off, but that gives it character. All this galleried edge round it. I think it said on the back something about a store in New York it was retailed through. I can think of Sears of New York, and that was the sort of thing that was done. But our old man used to polish things like this. He was a funny, and our old man was. Well, he made me laugh. Well, he made me actually as well, don't you want to think about it? But he used to polish things like this, and brass and all sorts of stuff. And he used to come home blacker than a coalman, absolutely black. And his hair, instead of going grey, it went green. It went ever so green. I thought he used to be the first punk rocker there ever was before punk rock started. But he used to come into the house sometimes and he'd be in a rush because he'd want to go out round the pub. So he'd get in the sink and he'd have a strip wash, so he'd strip down to the waist and he'd wash water, he'd throw all soaps and everything, he'd be dripping off his arms, fluttering it all over the place. Have you ever seen a bird have a wash in a puddle? That'd be our old man. And he'd be washing himself down, then he'd rub his face all over the place with his big old towel. Then he'd put his shirt on, he'd get his muffler on, then he'd put his jacket on, then he'd comb his wet hair back over his head, looking in the mirror. And he'd go, SJC, smart jolly chap. And then he'd throw his coat on, and he'd be off round the pub. We wouldn't see him again till chucking out time. Well, I wouldn't see him most of the time because I'd be in bed. But he was a funny, and our old man was Ken. That was the bloke. But as I say, if you want something for the ceremonies like sort of thing coming up for your tea services and things like this is ideal. It is absolutely wonderful, solid. You can have your cucumber sandwiches, your pork pie, your jelly and blancmange, or you could have a lot on there. You could eat that off. You could serve that as a table. It's that big. Turn it upside down. But the things that people do, as I say, for this this Jubilee, I think the Queen's very nice. I've seen the Queen twice. Well, let's put it that way. She's seen me twice. Once was on the Wolverhampton Road, for those that don't know. This is now also known as the Birmingham Road by the Catholic Church when I was 5, 1950. No, I was 3, 1955. And she come past and she was on my side in the car, what a van, it was driving on a big posh Rolls Royce. And our mum got me like that. I know she's trying to throw me under the vehicle or what, like sort of claim compensation, but she let me out like that as she come across. And I thought, am I meant to clean the car down as she come out? Anyway, I waved like that, and she waved back. Well, thinking about it, she would have left Prince Charles back, who would have been much older than me, back in the palace somewhere, unless he was in the boot. But anyway, like sort of thing, we waved at each other and she went. And then many years later, I was wandering over, me and our kid, as we do, went over to not the Three Counties, what they call that one over there at Warwick. It was the Royal Show at Warwick, that was the one. And me was wandering around, I went down into this underground sort of place, like this internal, so it's got kitchens in there and all sorts, and I was doing food. And I seen this big bouquet of flowers on the counter, and I said, who's coming? The mayor? And the lady's behind, she says, no, the Queen. I thought, well, it's a bit quick, and I like through a thing, the Queen's coming, I bet, Anyway, I was wandering round, and all of a sudden, everybody started standing to attention and hiding and going around the corner, and I stood amongst all this bunch of girls who were doing catering, and I was standing there's me 6'2", and these kids would have been about 4 foot nothing, like through a thing. So I stood out like a sore thumb, and then this John Steed character come and stood facing me, the umbrella, the guard's tie, the bowler hat, the lot. I thought, fly me neck, I'm tripping like through a thing, I'm back in John Steed and all that sort of, anyway. He looks at me for a bit, then he spies in the corner our kid, who looked even more shifted than I did. He was up the alleyway, so he went over and stared at him. There was nobody left to stare at me. Old Prince Philip come wandering about, cuffing and blinding and talking to the wenches and whatever, and he went past. I don't say anything to him because he don't say nothing to me. But then the Queen come, and I'll tell you what, I could have reached over and took the brooch off. I wouldn't say, but I wouldn't. You know, that's how close I was. And I was going to say, hello Liz, remember me from 1955 on the Wolverhampton Road? But I didn't have the courage to say it like through a thing, and she was tutoring away with all these kids. And then she went off. And I thought, well, how's about that, like through a thing? Twice in a lifetime, I've met the Queen almost. I mean, that is absolutely outstanding, absolutely wonderful. But don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, and people and cats and dogs and all them sort of things that might be sat round watching, come and see us up here at Unit 15, Remade to Vintage Unit 15, Rowland Way, Hoo Farm Industrial Estate. It's DY11 7RA, DY11 7RA, and come and have a look, because we've got loads of stuff. But if somebody come and purchases that tray, you'll be the bee's knees at your street party, because it's a wonderful, wonderful tray. So just a big shout out, a price on this. Somebody just said in my ear hole, yeah, what sort of price would you put on such a thing? Well, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to sell it as a bargain, because I was going to knock it out for hundreds and hundreds of pounds, because I think that might have been through royal hands in the 80s down in Buckingham Palace or something like that. But I'm just going to say now, I'm going to flog that. If you come up, first through the door, 60 quid. Bring some cash, because our machine's broke. All right, so I'm going to say a good shout out to all the other dealers that we know, like sort of a thing, all the antique people. I'll check your name out at another time, because I've lost my bit of paper with the person I was going to shout out to today. But I will shout out to Sarah and Emma and Stuart and Phil and loads of people up and down like through a thing. But have a good one, enjoy the holiday, enjoy the break, and we'll be back up here at Unit 15, and we'll see you then. So for now, bon voyage, enjoy your cucumber sandwiches, and report back at the end and tell us what you think. Bye now.